Okay, so hey there, everybody. This is me, looking through Blame Others online. I haven't made a video in forever, but I thought I wanted to make a Paladins video because, well, I'm in a bit of a, how would I say, not a rut, but I just been playing Paladins a bit more lately again, and I thought I'd want to talk about it. That and because there's actually been over like the last month or two a couple of prominent people leaving, and I think that really sucks because again I still always have tons of fun with the game still, and I think the game still has like a lot to offer for people. But and then I just talked today about what I think about the game over like, let's just say, since the beginning of this season, once all the changes and everything were kind of brought about. I'm gonna have some gameplay going on in the background and try to just have this talk over some extra stuff, not particularly pertaining, but maybe trying to do it. So, excuse me. The biggest thing was obviously the beginning of the season, which had the release of a new champion in Nyx. We also had a like as far as like maybe not so much buffs and other things, but as far as like changes for the game itself, there was we did lose the bounty store technically for the second time. Payload came back with a lot of problems, and the other thing was what was I gonna say? Oh, and I mean, again, gameplay wise, they had air strafing basically. I don't remember exactly when this was changed, but apparently it was a big deal. And there was a point where it was like this, where it was like this beforehand. I think it was back in like season 4, because I remember it was a huge thing because it added like a lot of bloom to like people like Tyra, Leanne, and a couple other people. And yeah, so they added that back. Actually, what season are we in? Sorry, I don't want to do clicking sounds, but um, we are in, yeah, no, yeah. So I think it was about season 4 that they did that change. I don't remember exactly. Um, that which was a big thing, and probably the more important thing, which was the healer keyword introduction, a system introduction. Um, so that's the big things for this season. So like, what would I say about that current stuff with its changes were kind of a little odd. The new character has been fine. In fact, kind of a little weak. Maybe not the funnest thing to play. Sorry. Other things that was changed. This wasn't changed now, but it was changed before. They got rid of trials and stuff like that. But that's not a huge thing to me. Losing the bounty store honestly really sucked. I really liked how ambitious they were with that. But I mean, obviously, if the community is not fully embracing it, they're not really seems like there's much point to it, and that's just apart from, uh, you know, any kind of bugs or issues, client issues or anything like that they might have been having that they have to, put time into other than just also updating it, refining it, etc. You know, so that does kind of suck because I really did think it was an interesting idea. Air strafing, cool. Means, a lot to people like, Drogos. It's pretty neat. Mid-air and accuracy, too. Again, I think I did not say that correctly. But, or I linked those two things together and didn't say correctly. But there was the air strafing change and the mid-air and accuracy change. Which was a lot more, a lot more meaningful to uh, all the hit scan people, because it meant more bloom, especially when they were jumping or using, you know, lots of using greater movement abilities. And the healer keywords, I mean, I feel like they could be fine if it means they can kind of get rid of some bloat text. If it's like, okay, you get bonus healing on a talent, cool. You get some bonus damage on a talent, okay, cool. Like, that's neat, so you don't have to constantly say that. But their implementation does have to be careful. But kind of enough about like those changes. There were other things like the specific how it applied to certain healers, as well as, you know, obvious other balance changes. But that aside, like where is how do I feel where is Paladins GA? Look, so I am not a pro player. I'm not gonna say I know and understand how every little number change is going to heavily affect, and you know, the damage numbers, heal numbers, and, you know, just percentage win weight of, you know, of characters. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna pretend to really be able to do that. But I will say that I think it still feels okay. I do think, and I'll touch on the people's leaving, what they've been saying, and which has also been kind of, you know, the constant problems, issues that people have had with the game for a long time. And let's just get it right out of the way. Bugs and glitches. You know, it's yeah. I mean, I personally don't ever experience too many. Even when they were at their worst, I feel like I did experience them less. And was a time where they were literally like an every match thing for like a long time. Or again, it felt like a long time. Maybe it wasn't even that long, but it's gonna feel like a long time. So again, like I was saying though, the main point being that I feel like it's still okay. Like, it's not at one of those times where it was terrible. Beginning to some of the points I can kind of remember off the top of my head. Which was in the bugs, which is the same. So the next point would be maps, and people's clamoring, as well as myself, that we want new maps, that we want, you know, places to use these characters more. We did pseudo get that with the return of Payload, but again, those are old maps, and, you know, veteran players like me or other ones, maybe like the ones that were leaving, you know, they've experienced them before. That's not a huge thing. And especially if you weren't a huge fan of Payload, I could enjoy Payload. It's not like my favorite thing, but I can definitely do it. But again, really not for me too much. So it didn't really mean much to me, but it meant a lot to a good chunk of people. So that's awesome. But again, those weren't true new maps. The other thing being probably balance. Because some characters just didn't feel fun to play for so long, then things were finally done, and and I mean, that's always gonna happen. That's another humongous thing. But when I say that, I should also mention things that were like radical changes that people maybe didn't like. And something that someone did bring up, that it's been quite a while that I've did kind of forget that had been a thing, and I have mentioned it and talked to my friends about it. Well, you know, especially as over time, this was the tank changes. I forgot how huge that was, because it greatly shifted a lot of power out of tanks, and it did kind of bash the knees in of healers a bit, because now they didn't have those tanks to kind of really keep them alive. And it actually did give, looking back, it did give birth to one of my most hated things, to which I'll get into in a second. But yeah, tanks, the whole tank change, I had forgotten that had happened, and that was huge. And that still just kind of lingered to this day. But again, maybe a little bit of rose tinted glasses on those people that, okay, it really sucks if you are really into tanks. And as somebody who is usually the tank person, I can get that, hey, I want tanks to be fun, especially when I'm going to be forced to play in ranked, or just when I really want to win a match. That does suck. It really does suck. But it also really wasn't fun when I wasn't playing tank, and tanks can kind of just ooga booga booga at me and not die and kill me, do just as much damage as me. It was really, it could be pretty frustrating. And this is still technically part of the healer and sustain changes. I mean, tank and / sustain changes that had happened was this is when because again, all this happened at the same time, and it's so weird that I had forgotten about it, but it was huge. Even at that time, it was huge, and again, those effects did linger for a long, long time. It was also when a lot of the items had been changed price and effectiveness wise, and that was pretty crazy too to really think about. That really did all happen like those two major things happened right after another, and that's crazy. It's really crazy to imagine, to think that happened. That's a little history. But again, why would that be a bad thing, or why did that eventually lead to some people leaving? Because again, tanks have never gotten, and again, in my opinion, thankfully, back to that ridiculous point where they could still be a solo tank, and just kind of ooga booga all over you. Or again, I'm sorry to all those those off-tank role players, but I personally really don't like that role, especially as, again, somebody who plays tank and who plays support a lot. Because, again, getting hit hard by that role is extremely frustrating, really annoying. But I definitely know that role has been pretty awkward for a long time, except for on new champion releases when they're extremely busted. Which, I mean, again, eventually is toned down. Healer changes. That was a huge thing for a long, long time, especially after Rejuvenate. Basically, the supports really lost a lot of their leeway because Rejuvenate had been gimped. But again, to that I say, well, most healers, especially at this point nowadays, I feel are pretty good and can be useful. Sure, at least in my opinion, some are not particularly fun to play, but you can still use them, and they can be used effectively. Almost all the healers can be used pretty effectively. And especially one which, I'll pat myself on the back after when I'll talk to that in a second. But I think it's kind of disingenuous to say that, oh my god, things like that, even though those effects still linger to this day, are so ridiculously negative that you should feel bad about that. I don't think you should feel bad about playing start or support, especially because, again, coming back around, that what was born from supports being ridiculous after they tried to backpedal and be like, okay, we'll kind of give you what you want, was double support meta. And I hated that. I still hate it to this day. But thankfully, at this point, again, nobody does it because most of the supports are perfectly fine, and a lot of the ridiculousness got toned down. I hated double support meta so much. I really feel like supports are in a good place right now, and that they don't need anything crazy. I don't know if the new keywords things is really needed, because again, supports are just health. Supports are healthy for the most part. Some still need some help, but they were gonna characters of any role, any job, are gonna need support. You're gonna need buffs, some toolkit changes as the game progresses, or just as time goes on. So probably one of the shining examples of that actually being somebody who again hasn't been touched by the keywords, isn't even one of them, but who also got a buff that made a huge difference, which is Genos. And actually, again, to pat myself on the back, was I'm pretty sure that wasn't directly from me, but definitely was an idea that I feel had been from me. This is actually from a long time ago when his talent got changed. This is actually from like last year or something when his talent got changed, or like a little over a year ago, actually. Was his talent being that he gets bonus healing whenever he uses it again. This is for Genos. His talent got changed to where he can, or added to that, it was now he can he'll get a burst of heal whenever he uses his Astral Mark for allies that already have it. And he, again, also recently got a buff that was I'm just trying to make sure. I'm pretty sure it was just I'm pretty sure it was just to his cooldowns. I'm sorry. Yes, sorry. So they decrease the cooldown to a point where he can actually spam everything. They reduce the stellar wind cooldown thing again, which has been awesome. But again, like those are, those changes may seem small on paper, but are humongous for his gameplay and potential, and have really pushed him up there, which has been actually pretty, in his heyday. I did not enjoy seeing Genos everywhere. I did not like that. I thought it was stupid. But it really did feel good to see him again because he hadn't been there for a long time. But it's just me commenting on that stuff. I'm sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there, but I'm just saying, all this to say, as somebody who really, really loves support, I don't feel like those lingering effects are something to really dwell on and to feel bad about. Same things with tanks. As somebody who plays a lot of tank, especially as newer tanks had come out, except for maybe the most recent one, they've had their time to shine. Tanks, at least those that didn't get bashed over the head, admittedly, in that point in time, still performed pretty damn well. Over time have been compensated to the point where they got ridiculous and had to be nerfed again, so on and so forth. Again, it's a process, and that was a huge shift at that point in time. Now, there is another big point, but that's probably like the last thing. I just remembered. What was the other thing? Oh, maps. Okay. Over the last 3 years, we haven't gotten really any maps. We've actually gotten one, which was the Dawnforge, last year, which was great, cool, awesome. Or was it earlier this year? I don't know. Anyway, it's been a long time. It's been quite a while even since that one. And that was great. We were finally happy to have a new map. That's awesome. the thing is, though, like, you would think, oh, you should at least have a new map every year, and we really haven't. Especially when the pandemic hit, that didn't happen at all. That really sucks. But we did receive map visual updates, which some people like to decry as, oh my god, wasting resources, doing all this stuff. It's like, well, or wasting opportunity, because it's wasting like an opportunity to make truly new things. But again, I'm a little disingenuous that, hey, it looks nicer, crisper, fresher. True, it doesn't really change how those maps are played, but it's still great to see. And while, again, and even with saying that, hey, I appreciate it like that, we do need to get more maps, like true new maps, especially because they're still making stories, they're still producing lore, which again should be worked on more. But you're still doing that to, at least to an extent. You should be able to come up with maps that tie into that. You really, really should. So that's kind of my say on the map issue. Now, because what else can you really say? Either you use those resources or you don't. And they chose to use it in that way, which is okay. But they should be using it in that. Again, so we talked about like buffs, like the characters, kind of the characters, kind of how these lingering changes have always been a constant thorn in people's sides. Which is kind of coming to, the big thing, especially probably for the more noticeable person that kind of talked about it, was how the company seems to not care about the community. And while I definitely can agree and say they're not, giving us everything we wanted, or honestly, even most of what they should be giving, you can at least say, and pretty sure it was said multiple times in tons of different videos, that the devs really do care about what happens to the game because they're working on it. And I think it would be okay to say that, at least if nothing else, Hi-Rez wants the game to keep making them money, right? So they gotta at least care to some extent, because then they're not gonna get money. I'm definitely the kind of person who would say I'm not disheartened when I don't get that kind of stuff or things like that in a game. I choose to support this game because I have so much fun playing it. I met a great friend and would still love opportunities to try and make, other new friends. Is it hard? Yeah. Is it still fun even when I don't do that? Yeah. But it can also be pretty, get pretty dull when, again, we don't get new maps, when changes, or unfortunately when bugs or other issues aren't dealt with in the way that we would like them to be dealt with. And that again comes and ties back to us. Where are we as a community? And especially for those that have stuck out for so long, we understand that yes, there is toxicity in this community. And I maybe am not so ashamed to be like, well, I kind of put into that a lot too. Hey, I'm human, I make mistakes, and I have changed and worked hard in my life to not be that kind of guy. But guess what? When I play games, that can be different. And yeah, I definitely wish we could definitely be like, I wish we could definitely be more of the, oh, come on and play, guys, we're gonna be so accepting of you, and da 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 da, because then we'll get everybody who can lift a controller into their hands. But I'm not, and I wouldn't like that. If I'm being really, really honest. Actually, another recent announcement, which is pretty sad and might be devastating to a lot of people, which is another reason why I really want to make this, because it's another kind of blow when you have community members leaving, and then another corporate decision that's going to affect players directly being the Switch port is going to shut down. Now, I never kept up with Switch that much, but just through the grapevine, you will definitely always hear kind of like the horror stories of constant disconnecting, seemingly more bugs and lag issues than any of the other consoles or PC, obviously. And I just want to shout out, I guess, to the Switch players, like, you know, I'm sorry that it's gonna end this way, but thanks for playing the game, thanks for enjoying it so much that you dealt with all that. Because again, that shows you if there's people who still dealt with that, who still wanted to give the game a chance even despite all that. This is a fun game. It's a game they want to like. And yeah, I mean, what else can I say? I mean, I wasn't a Switch player. I don't play console. I can't play with a controller. I would not be able to do these kind of games personally with that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was another recent thing, and I think that's really not going to be great for morale. So again, the whole point of this video was just kind of to put my thought out there that I hope the game isn't kind of collapsing and being chipped away at, whether it be by people leaving or some of the sad realities that might be coming up sooner than later, especially as there's ranked adjustments due to controller bias when it comes to playing the game. And yeah, it's just the way it's gonna be, and from what I've understood, it's not gonna be that bad. But I definitely still, again, ruffles some more feathers, and yeah. You know, Paladins has been a game that I really, I mean, obviously I really liked, but that I liked more than Overwatch since the beginning. I always liked it. Even, you know, when I was still playing just as much Overwatch as I was Paladins, I still chose Paladins if I had a choice. I want this game to keep going, keep lasting. I want to hope that there is something that can be done and understood by the people who have that power, that the people that have that power to make changes, so that people in the community don't keep believing, that they feel that there is something great and awesome there, because, well, I mean, there is. But yeah, I mean, I also had some other ideas for champions, changes, and things, that again, a lot of changes can be done to respice things up without maybe needing to release new characters. Again, don't release new characters, fix some bugs, and put out some maps, so then maybe those new characters can tie into new maps, etc, etc. But yeah, that's just a bit of a rambling video. Maybe I'll make another one where I put out some ideas for new things, because again, I will still always pat myself on the back for that generous idea. But yep, that's it. This has been me, Looking3. Gonna sign out and say thanks for watching, and hopefully we can keep enjoying and loving this great game.